Hello,
What's
hello.
going on, social media? We're on episode 64, and we will continue innovation. And this is the last part of our series and part 5. So if you pay attention to the stock market at all, you'll notice the word genome editing. So when it comes to genome editing, it's a big part of innovation today, and a lot of people are talking about it. So my question to you is it right for us to play God as humans? So,
No, I think,
yep.
Kevin, before that, since you talk about the stock market, can you tell us which companies to buy that has
Not like
doing
you care,
well?
right? You do cryptos.
I don't-
You don't give a shit about it.
other audience
Dogecoin.
might care.
No, I'm joking. Dogecoin. No.
Sorry. So, to be honest, I don't know much about the topic, and I think, based on my understanding, right, I think it allows you to edit out the bad parts of your genetics if you don't want them, right? And I don't know if that's equivalent to playing God, but it feels like it. Or it's really just about mitigating the flaws that you have genetically that you didn't choose to inherit, and keep the good and get rid of the bad. I think from a medical standpoint, I don't think there's anything bad with that, and it's just trying to make our lives better, right? So what could be bad with that? But on the other hand, I feel that if everyone is able to do that, like you would edit a Word document, then there's actually no need for doctors, right? So you can edit everything away, the bad stuff, and you could potentially live forever. I don't know if that's good or bad, because the world resources are finite. So I think there's a lot of implications here, to be honest. Too big for me to comprehend. My mind just go wild. So that's all I have for now, because it's just mind blowing. Sorry, it's too much.
I think that, with genome editing, what's going on today, it's just the very early stages, right? It's just the beginning. So, I mean, we're talking about potential designer babies, or superhumans, and we're looking at, genetically modify species of, new creation. Who knows, right? So I think that's the scary part, right? It's happening today in the food we eat. I mean, think about it. If you go to the grocery store, the tomato you eat is, in the States, I can't speak for Asia, right? It tastes like rubber. It doesn't taste like tomato anymore. But on the outside and the size of the tomato, it looks amazing, right? But it's not natural, So like the seeds in our farms are already genetically modified before even the plant grows, right? Because we have to feed all these people, right? The cows are bigger, the chicken are bigger than it is intended to be. So when it comes to genome editing, it goes as far as, what does the human species look like, 30, 40 years from today, right?
You don't sound
interesting.
You don't look very convinced, Jeremy.
No. I'm convinced, but the thing is that when Kevin mentioned about editing things like crops, seeds, and all that for like bigger yield to solve the problem of ever-growing population, it just adds on to what I mentioned earlier, right? If we could live forever, but I think the main implication here is that I don't know if there's enough data that to show that eating, for example, eating rice that have been genetically engineered for greater yield, what's the impact on natural, in our bodies, right? Versus a naturally grown rice, right? That is maybe not as resistant to what you call it, insects, pests, lesser yield. I don't know if there's enough data out there to do this kind of comparison. I think that's where the real danger is, if any. Because sounds like everything we're trying to do with this genome editing is to preserve or ensure that human beings live longer, live better, have more of us, quality of life, and all that kind of issues. So it's not that I'm not convinced, it's just that there's all these things in my head that, too much for my brain on a Thursday morning.
I know
Simply put.
I know for sure that in doing some reading on this, that they're not, it's in preclinical trials right now when it comes to actually genetically changing certain things. Like, it hasn't been proven. There's not enough data for them to say that this is going to for sure work. So they're just still trying to figure out how to do that. So at least from the baby perspective, or creating superhumans, that actually hasn't happened yet. And they said that it won't happen until they can, safely and effectively do that. So we're not quite at that point. So I am pretty confident that in 30 years, it's possible we're just getting there. Like, I don't think we're going to have superhumans in 30 years, but it might be starting.
So you see, I feel that there's two levels to it, right? On one level, let's talk about genome editing babies, for example. I think there's two levels. On a very basic level that I can understand is to detect and remove genetic defects.
Yep.
That's one level, right?
Yes.
You're naturally born with these defects. You go in and take these bad things out. So that's one level, right? The other level is really enhancing and overpowering certain aspects, right? I don't know what you want to call it, superhuman strength, X-ray vision, whatever.
X-Men.
Yeah, that's the other level, right? So one is really just about take away the bad. The other one is, no, I want them to be even better, and all this extraordinary stuff. That's the other level. So then the question also will be, what's the rules on engagement? If you already have this power to do whatever you want with the DNA manipulation, whatever you call it, where do we stop? Where the ethics go? Where are the restrictions? What are the rules of engagement? Those are the things that I think are important, and I don't think we have even started looking at that. I don't know. Is there an international body governing that?
At the same time, there's no difference than if you look at the internet and social media today, right? Where's the rule of engagement, right? Where does it stop, right? Because you technically have these monopolies. I mean, they don't like to say they're a monopoly, but you have certain social media, internet companies that dominate everyone else, right? So they technically make the call on, how things are searched, how algorithms are performed, what data they share, So, I mean.
But in that sense, in a way, you still have a choice to decide what you consume and what you don't consume. But in the situation of editing the genes for a baby, well, I guess it's the parent's choice, right? The baby doesn't have a say. And if everyone is born perfect without defect, I don't know, is that the right thing to do? Is that the best route for human? I wouldn't even say evolution, because we didn't evolve into that. We manipulated into that. Yeah, so it's just too many, I don't know, ethical, philosophical questions in my head right now. It's mind-blowing.
I think when it comes to the perspective of an embryo, something that's outside of a person that you're manipulating, there's definitely a line there for me. But when it comes to a baby maybe in the womb that could have a better chance at life, if you can take some cells or DNA from that child, and then without hurting them, without being completely invasive, just taking some cells and fixing some things and putting it back. I mean, I don't believe that. I personally, this is just my perspective, but I don't believe that we're God. So I don't. But if there's something scientifically that isn't very invasive and could give that child a better life, then why not? If you want to take DNA from me right now and change the course of my life and give me more health, I'm going to let you have it. I mean, I'll scrape it off for you. I'll do whatever you need. You take my blood, whatever, You know, so I think it's like you said, there are lines that I don't feel we should cross. And then there's things that if you can give someone a better life, that's not crossing those lines, then I think that it's a good thing. You know, I think that there's negatives and positives. Kevin's mind is spinning over there.
Yeah.
let's hear from Aldrich. It's been quiet so far.
Yeah, Aldrich.
No, I just think that the both of you are picking on, not really picking on, but what I really mean is like the literal meaning that the both of you are picking on the toughest topics within a spectrum of topics. I'll give you an example. The topic of playing God routinely comes up in euthanasia, right? So let's not talk about genome editing for babies, but the context is the same. When you're trying to make a life or death, life-changing decision for someone else, you will be slapped the label of playing God. You will be. But let's change that. So let's change the context. Or what if we are in the condition where we can determine for ourselves whether we want to do it or not? Then that's not playing God, right? It's technology agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
So one way to think about this is we are an aggregation of cells, and over time some of our cells mutate. In the worst case, we get cancerous cells. So then what if there are solutions out there where it allows us to edit away the cancerous cells without killing ourselves? Now, the context is you are working it out and you can think, and that you are willing to take on the consequences of your decision, right? So let's forget about the playing God thing. I would think that this solution is worthy of further maturity, because what we are trying to do today in terms of cancer rehab and treatment is a form of hijacking our normal course of biological expiry. We go for treatment, it extends our life. It's a fact. So if you can edit away your mutated cells and it extends your life, by and large, what's different is the treatment. It has nothing to do with the result. The result is going to be the same. It extends your life. Or I shouldn't say that. It prevents you from dying earlier than you should. If you have taken care of your health, eaten healthily, exercise, not work 20 hours a day, and not smoke and not drink and things like that, right? But unfortunately, life happens.
Yep.
So
some people who do that, or rather don't do all these things, right? Exercise, eat healthier, they still die earlier sometimes.
I get that.
Right. You know, okay, but anyway, sorry, yeah.
But the key consideration has nothing to do with death, but it's whether we have a mature solution to deal with issues that are life-threatening. And I choose to explore from that perspective because I think it does us a lot of good from that sense. Are we at the position where we can play God? Now, if we were to cross that line, we enter the realm of science fiction. Jurassic Park series is one that I think is really real. I really enjoyed that.
It's plausible. It's possible.
Yeah. But ever since I put out that article on Medium, I've been getting feedback from like science practitioners that
cool.
That DNA editing is in place, but not to the extent of like bringing dinosaurs back to our neighborhood. So the examples that was given to me, actually I like it. I was like, I'm being schooled by like real like experts, right? The examples that are given to me, cloning, it's already there, right? The other one is agricultural produce, which you have mentioned.
Yep.
And the theme is the race to feed. That's the theme. And the four of us will not be able to appreciate it because we belong to the developed world. And developed world has one tricky issue, and that is we have a graying population. So we don't see the speed to feed really existing as a result of poverty, lack of access to natural resources, and no jobs. We don't see that. But you see that in the third world.
Yep.
So then fish that's being reared by humans and cloning themselves. I think there's one startup in the US. They try to raise salmons from the cells they got from real salmons. So if you were to get salmons naturally, it would be from Canada or Norway, right? So in the US, I think they have indoor salmon farms.
Yeah, they have salmon farms.
Yeah. And then now they have like cells replication. And I heard that that salmon that you can eat in that restaurant, the stripedation, the taste, the texture is about 95% similar to the real stuff, that the connoisseur can't tell the difference. I was like, wow, So
cloning of fish.
Cells.
Okay.
The fish. I'm not even talking about the fish.
Man.
The cells of the fish. So it's
man.
orange. It's neon orange. You see the white stripes. It's in the sushi, and I think it takes them about 6 weeks to clone the cells, gestate it, let it grow, and then put it onto your plate.
So at first I thought you were, so Aldrich, I'm so sorry, but at first I thought you were saying cellmen.
No, the cells.
I thought
salmon.
we're growing an army of men in
Made of
this.
cell.
Salesman.
It's this lab that has all the little subjects. And then, if we ever need them, then they can clone all these different people or, transplant it. And then, so it's like, I was like, what is going on? And then he goes, salmon. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, wow, Aldrich knows a lot about this topic, which you do, but I took it to a whole nother level there. Sorry about that.
No, this is this is one topic within the month of disruptive innovation that I have the least knowledge. But the research in itself is very interesting.
I think we all have the least knowledge.
Yeah, this is the.
I have zero knowledge.
Scientists or science majors here.
Okay, so I want to throw this out there, and it's kind of, I hope it'll make the conversation even more fun. It may broaden it a little bit, but for me, I always...
Oh, you just make us look stupid.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was really... Wow. You think too highly of me. Thank you so much. No, what I was going to say is something that really bothers me is, for example, okay, and I know I know not everybody feels that the vaccines, not everyone watching this are going to say, oh, the vaccines are perfect. And they're not. Okay, they're not. They made, these scientists came together worldwide to create a vaccine in a very, very, very short amount of time in order to save a lot of people globally. So it's not just like US scientists, it's everywhere. Everybody was looking for an immediate solution, and it's not fail-proof because we're all different people. And so making one thing for so many different scenarios is very hard. So yes, it's going to help a lot and it's going to hurt some. Okay. It's going to save a lot of people and it's going to hurt some. What gets me, and I think that this can also maybe apply a little bit in this area that we're talking about, if they want a solution and everyone's working together to find it, there is a solution. All of a sudden, there is a solution, okay? Overall, of course, it's not fail-proof. When it comes to cancer, Alzheimer, all these different things, we've been working on this for how many years? Like since I was a baby. There is a solution. I know that there's a solution. Yes, they make a lot of money. I'm just telling you. No, but they do make a lot of money all over, especially here. There's more cancer now than when I was a kid. There's more cases. There's more people that are directly connected to me. Probably, I don't know what the statistics are, but it's pretty bad. It's like 1 in 5 people die of cancer at whatever age.
It comes down to, Jen, so you fix one thing and then you break something else, right? It's technology and science. So, when we're talking about genome editing, we fix feeding people with more food, but then that's genetically modified food.
Yes.
Which can cause cancer.
We don't know what, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So who knows?
And there's I'm just saying they know. They know. They actually know how to fix that problem. I know they know. And if they don't know, they know how to know. But it's just so amazing to me because when the whole world worked together, we found a solution. It's not perfect, but it's doable, it's workable. And so like sometimes it really gets me. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, Jacqueline.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because that is something that bothers me so much. My mother-in-law is an Alzheimer patient. I take care of her. And they're always talking about fund our research, which I do know it costs a lot of money. And that's another thing that they've been doing for years. And that's another thing that has gotten so much worse in the last 30 to 40 years since I was a child. It would be very rare to meet or know about an Alzheimer patient. Now it's very typical.
But I think, Jen, that comes down to, I think there was Alzheimer patients. It's just we weren't as aware. I think people are more informed in today's society than, let's say, 20 years ago.
Maybe Alzheimer's wasn't really invented then.
Yep.
So you can just escape scot-free. I mean, like if ADHD would have existed when I was a child in school, I think I would be able to survive.
It would have saved your life. See what I'm saying?
I don't think so. I pretty much enjoy being myself.
Yeah, same thing. Like, who puts the label on these things? Like anxiety. Like now, a lot of people talk about anxiety. Mm-hmm. But if you think about 20 years ago, my mom would just spank me and say, stop being weak.
Get over it.
Get over it. There's no anxiety.
So have we become more fragile as a human race because there are more labels now, or it really just is that there's too many things that's been changing, right? The environment, genetically modified food, I don't know, whatever's passed down genetically, hereditary, you inherit things that are of a weaker nature now. I don't know, or I might pass down genes that are weaker because of whatever I have on me. Will gene editing be able to stop that and make things better? I don't know. It's just too much of those questions that I don't have answers for. I don't think anyone has. And
I always say, you don't know what you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So I always tell Jen and I talk sometimes about like example. Why are people so happy when you go to a third world country and you see these kids? And to us, they're suffering, right? Oh, man, their house is so small. Oh, they're playing in trash. Oh, so sad. But when I look at them, they're very happy. So it makes me ask, they don't know what they don't know. If you haven't experienced fine dining, McDonald's might taste amazing,
don't
you
what
know,
you're missing.
but once you taste it, then you know you're missing out on something.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of humans in general. Our world is all, since we're called the bottoms up perspective, right? It's really based on your perspective. If you haven't experienced something, how do you know what to compare it to?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So eventually you have a race of children born into a world where there's genome editing. And it's exactly like Eldrick said, maybe my son or my grandson in the future, they get sick with cancer, then it's just a normal thing to do. It's no different than, cancer treatments today. They just go in the hospital and do some genome editing. Just like if I told my son about a cassette deck, right? Cassette tape. He's like, what is this? He would have no idea. Even the CD, like it's like something ancient. He have no idea what it is, Oh, it plays music. Oh, really?
And there's no rewind button now, right? If we used to put the cassette on the pencil and spin, now it's just a bar to drag and okay, rewind.
Yep.
And I have some thoughts kind of along that because of having lived in other countries and other places, especially that were poor areas, like really poor areas. And it's not that everybody poor is happy, though. I mean, some of them really do struggle. But I feel like a lot of times when I've heard it so many times, if you want to be healthy, go back and eat how they did 100 years ago, where they pulled everything from the ground and they were limited in how much meat they had or how much dairy. There wasn't all the chemicals or canned food or processed stuff. It's just literally fresh fruit from the tree or from the bushes, garden stuff, killing. I mean, forgive me for anybody that's watching because I'm not trying to be offensive, but kill an animal and eat it. I mean, that's what they did, at least, here. And also back then they worked hard. They didn't need gems because they were behind plows and there wasn't time to think about if I'm anxious or not. There's the blue skies and the dirt and let's get our work done. And I think also when people feel good working out and you feel better, you feel like you think clearer and better. I think that that's what happened a lot on farms and people that had to work physically very hard. I think that they're tired, but they were physically fit. I notice I deal with anxiety, on a daily basis. And I absolutely love the city. I love the city, but I notice every single time I go to the countryside, there's zero anxiety. None. And I remember living in the country as a child. There was zero anxiety. I was bored to tears and I had horrible allergies and got sick all the time, but there was no anxiety being out in nature. There's no one in a hurry. There's no pressure to do anything. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just very different. And
you go to the country with me.
We can't relate in Singapore because there's no countryside in Singapore. So.
we could say nature.
No, just joking.
We could say nature. If you go to the park and there's not a lot of people there and you're just having a picnic with your family, there's a lot less anxiety in that moment, than your typical moment that you're hurrying to get ready to go somewhere or get the kids to school or meet a client. There's just
what if you can edit anxiety gene away from yourself and you never feel anxiety?
Anxiety is an emotion.
You don't know. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, edit that in your brain that you're wired to not have the emotion of anxiety. What if you could do that?
I would definitely
that emotion
do it. I think that some anxiety is normal, just to, because you're having to deal with emotion. Even just dealing with emotion can bring anxiety. But where it crosses the line is when you have so much that you can't function. Some people can't work a job. They have a hard time keeping a job or They have a hard time socializing, like social anxiety, where you get really nervous being around a lot of people. Yeah, so there's a lot of things there, but
because anxiety is created by environment, right? Yeah.
Sometimes anxiety is also created by other things, though. How you grew up, your perceptions, your perspectives, your the way that you translate things.
That can't be genetically engineered.
So
away.
cannot be genetically engineered.
No.
You're screwed.
But if it comes from any type of hormonal or chemical imbalance,
it can.
It can. It just depends on where it comes from. You'll never completely get away from anxiety, though, because it comes from also worries and fears, which is a normal human response to certain things. So,
fears are born out of experiences. So yeah, you can't edit experiences away. Or I don't know, maybe you can genetically edit some memories. I don't know. But I think to Aldrich's point, right? If
you cannot edit memories. Memories doesn't exist to make you remember things. Memory exists. Hang on. So just let me finish.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Memories does not exist to help you remember your past. If it does, you will not forget. It can't be. Memories exist to prevent us from making the same mistakes again. That's why only certain incidents and experiences will stay and stick. And that also explains why I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. That also explains why I don't remember what article I wrote yesterday. But I
because you write too many.
Okay, that's another thing. But I remember.
You mean the 5 that you wrote yesterday?
If I wrote one, I remember. You wrote 10. Anyway, sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
I remember being injured from sports. I remember dislocating my shoulder when I was doing a badminton smash, a jump smash, when I was in secondary school. But I don't remember specifically where I brought my ex-girlfriend then to where we go for lunch. So
I don't remember that either.
So to your point, Jeremy,
you better not
have memories, but they do not serve to remind us of our past. They serve to prevent us from repeating the same disastrous mistakes that we have made before. That's the only function of memories.
No. Mom,
you
you also remember the good stuff. So it's always not just always the bad lah.
Every time I get
the bad sticks. The bad sticks,
Jeremy,
but the good ones, lesser.
So you remember your special girlfriend?
I've only had one, so it's easy to remember. My wife.
So it's not connected to memory. That's the point. If you only have one, it will not be connected to memory.
I don't need to commit to memory. She's here all the time.
Hey, if I ever get really frustrated with Kevin, I just remember that moment, like those moments that we met and were dating and how amazing those felt. And it helps me to forgive him.
Because
so it's not only bad.
No, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be impactful incidents. And that is the reason for most of us, when we are married, our spouse is not, let's say, it's not the first girlfriend or boyfriend. And that's the reason when shit happens, you will always remember that ex. Because that one is really... I'll put it that way.
Or you remember that ex that was worse than what you have, whoever you have currently, and okay, this is much better than the ex.
I do.
You work both ways.
Because my second girlfriend, she's very musically inclined, but then that's the good part of her. So I remember the bad stuff and the very good stuff because she's really good with a piano. Like she can play cross hands on the piano. Like,
Right,
how many of you
right.
can do that? Like, God damn it.
I can't
prove
play
it to
the
me.
piano.
Yeah, you
I
can-
can't
you
even
can-
play like this, really.
Yeah, precisely. So you can do that. I was
Audrey,
like,
Audrey,
oh.
Audrey, personal question, yeah? Personal question. Do you remember that's the second girlfriend out of how many?
Wow. Gotta think.
That's a huge number.
What in the
Second
world?
out of 20, 200.
My wife should be the fourth or the fifth one, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
okay,
not
okay,
bad.
okay.
That's
That's not too
Yeah.
bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah, sorry, we digress. Yeah,
No,
I was gonna.
So I think this is good because it goes back to Jen. You had a post about the first childhood memory.
Hmm.
Seriously?
As we talk about memory, so what was your first childhood memory?
The
I don't.
or it may not even be an actual picture. It could also be a sense of something.
As in, do
Too
you
long
mean
ago.
what you remember?
The first thing you remember,
First
you remember.
thing you remember
Yeah,
when you're
no idea.
born.
Like a scene or a sense of something, you were with somebody or you went somewhere.
Mm-mm.
And this is a good time for you to share your results, what you're talking about in your experiment.
So basically, because of something that I was working on for myself, I realized that not everybody's memories have a feeling. Not everybody's memories are happy. Some people's first childhood memories actually have sadness wrapped around them, and some people have happiness wrapped around it.
As a toddler? I don't think so, right?
Usually your the tendency is most people's first memories are around 5. However, it can go back, like weird people like Kevin, to 3 or 4, but it typically doesn't happen. So usually around 5, you'll begin to have just some little bitty things that are there. So out of that, I learned that the major percentage was they remember their first memory and it had feelings of happiness. There were a few that had sadness wrapped around it, but not a lot. And then there's some that remember the memory, but they don't have, there's no feelings. It wasn't good or bad. There just wasn't, it wasn't anything impactful. It's just they remember. So even if that's 6 or Jeremy, it could be 10 for you. I'm not sure. But just somewhere, the very first thing you remember, even if it's at 10, what is the first thing that you remember?
It's hard to classify first or second because it's just like, you don't know chronologically which is first.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind? And does it have happiness or sadness or really no feeling?
I think I have to relate back to like the oldest photos that I have, I still see, back in the past, there's not so much mobile phones photography. So probably it's a photo of when I was 1 or 2 years old, when we were that young, you have a cake in front of you and all the toys there in front. I only had a few toys. So I probably remember some of these things, like one of those toys that I played, or rather that was given to me on my birthday. I was 2 or 3, based on the photo, but I don't remember having experience through that. It's just with the photo, but it doesn't aid memory. Just like, oh, this happened factually. Memory wise, I don't know. Maybe playing with toys, or I don't have. It's very hazy. It's very hazy. But if you say like much later in primary school, 7, 8 years, 9 years old, I think I do remember some things. But first memory, I can't tell which one was first.
So I am playing with some theories in regards to first memories and what kind of feelings overshadow those, and how, because a psychologist I talked to recently actually told me that the first 2 years of life are actually some of the most crucial. Even if you can't remember, it can affect you greatly. So for example, like a parent who, this is my words now, but a parent who leaves their baby to cry a lot and doesn't give it a lot of physical touch can actually have a sense of abandonment without even knowing where that came from.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So so I'm into all that stuff. So I've been doing some research personally to learn more about how childhood plays such a huge role in who we are today and how we process and where the perspectives come from. And the thing about experiences is they can edit out your health issue maybe, but they can never edit out your experiences unless they're doing some weird voodoo. I don't know, but they'll never be able to change the path of your life or how you experience things or the emotional aspect of it.
It'll be like the movie Avatar.
We are in that world. I mean, like, just look at social media. That's
Yep.
that world. I mean, like,
Yep.
everyone
Yeah.
is a warrior. Everyone like fights bravely. Oh yeah, and
Behind the mask.
yeah,
Aldrich, you
everyone.
don't believe them? You think they're not being real with you?
Social media.
Yeah,
You gotta be
I'm just
kidding me,
teasing
right?
you. I'm just teasing
oh.
you.
Yeah, like everyone has 6 packs on Instagram. Everyone has a perfect figure on Instagram.
Not
Like,
me, not me,
Yeah,
Aldrich. My
that's why I'm not on
I have
Instagram.
no six-pack.
Didn't you see though? I had a Louis Vuitton bag, and I was like sitting in a Porsche.
Yeah.
Actually, I was just test driving it that day, and I took the Louis Vuitton right back.
It's common,
Returned
right? I mean,
it.
like,
No, I'm just teasing.
isn't it like Avatar? It is. I'm not even
Yeah, it's true.
impressed.
Okay, let's come back. Yeah. I want to talk a bit about cloning, right? I think the topic about gene editing and where do we stop has, a good example would be like cloning, because we talk about cloning of fish, whatever, food stock, right? Livestock. But cloning of humans, right? Do we stop at that? I mean, do we cross that line, right? It's similar to what do we edit in our genes? Do we just take out the bad stuff, or we superpower ourselves? Or I don't know. So there's always this line. But I think, to Audrich's point, an example of cancer, if we look at gene editing as a medicine, then that's fine, right? I think that's where everyone's agreeable that it's a good thing. You, instead of taking a pill to cure whatever, instead of taking an injection and vaccinate whatever cure that is, it's just another piece of medical technology available to edit away whatever you don't want. So that's all in fine, right? But when you cross the line to, beyond that and enhance your capability or whatever, then there's a big question mark, just like how whether, when you have the ability to clone, do you clone humans for, I don't know, whatever reason. I always think that the use case for cloning humans is to use the other person as human spare parts, right? Oh, my lung's not good, let me swap it out. Or my kidney, I need an extra one, that kind of thing. So do you cross the line? I think that's where you go to the level of playing godlike, right? Like how we started. But who determines whether we cross that line, and can we cross the line? Is there any enforcement, policing that we don't cross that line? Because once this technology is decentralized, like what we have with the internet, then you can't control it, right? Just like cryptocurrencies, you can't control it. Information, you can't control it now. And then you have, when you can't control it, when technology gets decentralized, then you always have good and bad news. I think that's where the problem is. Yeah. And we've seen that with all these other technologies. So I think that's the real question. Go ahead, Audrey.
But then the comparisons are not that meaningful, because we need to take into consideration things like illegal organ transplant.
Mm-hmm. Well, that exists without cloning too.
No, but the intent to live longer by doing whatever it takes because you have the financial resources, it exists already.
If they,
I mean, my point is that this is not an argument against the advancement of genome editing, because we can already see it. We can already see such behaviors in pockets of our societies. Not to say that I encourage them or I want them to perpetuate. I'm just saying, from a pure observational standpoint, it's here. So if eradication of human desires cannot be done, then the better way is to have some form of control. This is my personal viewpoint. I think it applies to alcohol, cigarettes, and prostitution. You can't stamp them out, even though we know that they are vices. It's been 5,000 years. We have never been successful. What makes you think that we are going to be successful? It's not going to. Unless humans are going to be elves, I don't think that's going to happen. Humans will be humans. We will forever be the first one to be attacked by the orcs from Mordor because we are weak. That's unfortunately, I mean, like even Lord of the Rings has proven that. So that's my point. I think that cannot be the argument against the advancement of genome editing. To be honest, I really don't think so, because we will always find a way. So if you can't find it in the normal market, you have a black market, and I don't think we would want the black market to grow. To be very honest, I don't think so.
I find it very interesting that you brought in Lord of the Rings, because I think from a literary standpoint, the orcs were a metaphor for technology and the whatever else, right? What are they called? What are the little guys called again? Those that live in the Shire?
Hobbits.
Hobbits.
Yeah, the hobbits. The hobbits and the Shire as a representation of nature. So in a way, it's interesting you brought this up, because we're talking about technology here, right? Innovation, genome editing. In a way, you really can't stop it. And I think the analogy there with Lord of the Rings really is about that. Yeah, you can't stop it. It's coming. And, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stop it by forming a fellowship and throwing the ring down into wherever and kill that technology? Is that even possible? Of course, in the story it is possible, but if you use that as an analogy, then yeah, I think you're right. We can't stop it from happening. It's just, and it sounds like we can't control it. Because humans are humans, we are selfish. We want to live forever. And when we have that technology available, we will try and live forever. And whether you have access to it, sounds like right now the only thing that is stopping you from having access to it is whether you have enough financial resources. And then you get into this whole moral issues of, if I can have access to gene editing to get rid of cancer, shouldn't it be available for everyone? Why is it only available for people with money, right? If I'm poor, the technology is there, I can afford this medicine, therefore I will die with cancer. Again, this whole thing about, being privileged and not. So just too much to handle for me, for my little puny brain.
No, and I think, it's a great place to kind of end our night tonight, because it's interesting when you guys brought up Lord of the Ring, because I think at the end of the day, when J.R. Tolkien came up with the series Lord of the Ring, it has to do with our human struggles and our nature of greed. I think that's always going to exist, the human element. And when we talk about innovation, a big part of it has to do with money and what's out there, right? So there's that balance of good and evil. And I don't think we can ever, there's no way, as long as we're on this earth, that's always going to exist, right? So with innovation comes, there's always going to be someone that's going to be Dr. Evil, So I mean, yep, go ahead, Jen.
I want to tell Jeremy really quick too, and don't think, just think about, this is hypothetical, but if you cloned yourself and maybe even they did some genome stuff, some editing, and it was the stronger version of you, what makes you think that he's, you come to him and you say, hey dude, so I'm going to need that kidney. Well, he may just kill you off and just be the living version of you.
I'm sure I'm very sure if I cloned myself and that cloned version is a smarter version of me, first thing that clone will do will be to kill me.
Of course, because why?
Definitely.
Well, I don't want
Definitely.
you taking my body parts because I'm a human too, and I'm alive, and
Exactly.
I'm stronger than you.
My clone will kill me and don't even want my body parts because it's weaker.
Oh my gosh. And then here's my thought too, is that honestly, why don't they just clone body parts? Figure out how to clone a liver or something like that, or maybe even 3D printing.
3D print.
Yeah, they do that.
Be popular in the future.
They're already doing it, Jen.
Yeah, I think so.
Printed,
a heart.
Yeah, I think the body parts. I think they're already doing it, experimenting. Yeah.
But 3D printing is different from cloning, because cloning would mean that your body will genetically accept it. It will not reject it as a third party, external, foreign body, because genetically it's like the same, and then you have the same, I don't know, blood type or whatever. So, it just makes that integration easier.
Whoever watches this later on, past today or this morning or tonight, and you're a genome editing expert or scientist,
tell us what we say is wrong,
and tell us how stupid we are in our conversation and how we are wrong. Feel free. Love to have an expert on this topic. So next week we're going to start our new series, and it's going to be about relationships, because regardless of genome editing innovation, for our human race to survive, we need relationships. So that's what keeps us going. So we look forward to talking to you, same time, same location. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Later.
Thanks, everyone. We're still live.
Yeah.
What happens when Kevin goes off?
Did someone bomb himself out?